My name is Pason Gaddis. I'm President and CEO of Florida Media Group.
There you go.
We're a publisher here in Southwest Florida, throughout the state of Florida, in various markets. One of our main titles that we publish is Florida Weekly. And I'm proud to say that through a joint venture that we developed with Kitson and Partners, we are the publisher of the Newtown newspaper of Babcock Ranch, Florida, the Babcock Ranch Telegraph. And the name has a lot of meaning. It was a name that was in collaboration with my colleague here, John Hillman. As you heard Dr. Hammond share, there is a swamp on the ranch called the Telegraph Swamp that runs through it. And in fact, in the early 1900s, there were telegraph lines that are still there on the property now. Folks on the ranch received information. So we're really proud of the partnership and the name that we created to communicate information on the Babcock Ranch. So I'd like to introduce my colleague, John Hillman, with Kitson Partners. He's the head of sales and marketing for Babcock Ranch. And we'll be doing a Q&A session together, which will be, in a way, the first formal interview of the Babcock Ranch Telegraph. And John will be talking a little bit about the project. So, with that, I'm going to ask you the first official question of the Babcock Ranch Telegraph, John. Okay. Sound good?
Sounds great.
You got this? Okay. So, let's start with the history of Babcock Ranch. Tell me a little bit about it and how long you've been working at Kitson Partners to create this wonderful city.
No problem. First of all, I usually never like to come after Sid Kitson. Now I really don't want to ever have to come after Dr. Bill Hammond. Great information there. That was really a pleasure to listen to that tale. This is a wonderful endeavor for me personally. I've been at this for 4 years. I was working on a town development in the Cayman Islands for about 3 years, but I saw this thing in '08 about Sid Kitson and his autonomous cars in the solar city, and it was just an amazing idea. And I got this phone call in 2012 to join this effort. And Sid and team have been at it for 10 years plus. And as I was watching Dr. Hammond's overview, he talked about the Babcock family. And I thought I would take just a second to step us just before the Babcock family took over the property, because many of you are visitors to this area. I'm from South Carolina. I moved here 4 years ago. Some of you are from here, many of you are from elsewhere. Well, there was a family also from elsewhere that came down here, the Babcock family from Montana, and they made their money in gold. So when the gold rush happened out there, they came here because of the lifestyle, because of this quality of life. And so they were some of the early founders of Florida, along with Colonel Isaac DeVoe. So they bought this 156,000 acres that eventually in 1914, E.B. Babcock purchased the land holdings from the family enterprise in the lumber business. So it's fascinating when you think about the tale and you think about these families that have been coming here for a long, long time. And the property, let's see, 65,000 acres was sold off in the 1940s and now becomes part of the Babcock Web Reserve. And then Kitson and Partners bought the property in 2006, so we're just coming up on the 10-year anniversary of that historic moment. So it's been a big endeavor, as you can imagine. I'm going to talk about some of the more nitty-gritty things as we get into this, but that's sort of the history and the timeline that we went through.
Great. So this conference is all about sustainability. Can you share a little bit about what Kitson and Partners is doing for Babcock Ranch to create the world's first sustainable city?
So I love the word sustainability. transportation technology for being durable during storms. And then we've added a new one recently called fun. Making sure this is still fun, right? And we can enjoy our lives and be part of something. So I put that out there in a context because it frames how we think. It frames how we design spaces. It's very important for us as we think about sustainability that it's not just the ecological side, because that's where we tend to gravitate to. And some people gravitate to the gadgetry green. We really think long and hard about social sustainability, that we want things to be right for people, for human beings to be connected. So you'll hear me talk a lot about this idea of connectedness, that we're connected to one another. But firstly, we're connected to the land. And so all these trails, all this interaction with nature, if 91,000 acres were set aside, the state's going to preserve 73,000 forever. And we're going to take our 18,000 and we're going to preserve at least half of it forever. So when you add all that up, 90% of the land is really set aside for preservation and conservation land forever. So that's really important to us when we think about that word sustainability. And those 7 or 8 guiding principles really factor everything that we do when we think about it.
You know, there was a lot of public input on Kitson's acquisition of this land and development of the land. What were some of the key environmental considerations that you put in place from the beginning?
Yeah, there's numerous, and it's always ongoing. But Dr. Hammond talked about it. It's getting, first of all, slowing down the water systems, trying to restore natural habitat. And so even years ago, before we got started back in November, we started looking at different mitigation opportunities. And let's be honest, we were compelled to do these. But we wanted to get out on the forefront of this because we are going to get into the land and we're going to develop. And as you develop things, some things will be disturbed. But what was important to us as we started doing this is that we would only disturb lands that had already been disturbed. So we looked at the mining operations, we looked at the farming practices that had been there for decades. And so as we're starting, as you drive up 31 and you look off to your right as you're going north, it was really important to us that we only work with the land that had already been touched. And all of the preserved lands, we do everything we can to obviously protect that and conserve that. In fact, one of the ladies on our team, Deborah Drummond, she's our tree lady. And even in Town Square, when you'll see Town Square for the very first time, less than a year from now, you're going to see these 2 beautiful pine trees that you can tell have been there for a long, long time. And they're right in the middle of the park. And so those things matter to us. It's not saving 1 or 2, it's trying to save as many as we can. So working with land that had been disturbed was probably something that most of you will recognize when you start getting into the property.
Great. You know, one of the things that's making the most headlines following the groundbreaking ceremony last week is the partnership with FP&L and the solar field. Can you tell us a little bit about that project and how it's going to things that's happening?
Yes, I'd love to. And I guess I'd throw out a disclaimer. No one here is from the FAA, right? Okay. Because you're about to see, it is a drone that has been certified. I flew this. So 443 acres have been set aside for the solar facility. And this starts to give you just some context of what that's all about. Our property in Naples is 461 acres that we're developing a high-end community called House Park. But this is the same size, and it's going to have, anybody want to guess how many solar panels might go in a facility of this size for a 75 megawatt facility?
20,000.
Millions, say again? 700,000. Like 330,000. It's just remarkable. I think somebody said it in the back there, that was great. Fort Caroline's putting in 3 of these facilities in the state right now, and it is close to $1 million when you have them all up. Actually, if you laid them all side by side, you could go from where we are nearly to the suburbs of Chicago. It's pretty amazing. Yes.
Are you concerned at all about the heat generated from those units? It seems like it's a large area that would generate a lot of heat.
I'm not a scientist, so I can't speak on behalf of Fort Carolina and how that all plays out. They are set at an optimal angle to obviously receive took years to come together. There's some regulatory issues obviously we had to work through, but it's the first of a kind. So having the first truly solar powered town in the country, or in the world right here in our backyard, is something I hope we're all proud of. And you don't have to try hard to feel good about your energy use at Babcock. You could put solar on your roofs if you were so inclined. Businesses can do that too. We're looking for all kinds of ways for people to leverage this platform. And the great thing is, Adam Putnam said it best, you know, years ago you go to the community bank and they give you a microwave or a flat screen TV. You know, now, and it's all because the costs have gone down on those things. Solar costs are going down at an exponential rate, so it's enabling this to be used much further.
Can I ask a quick question on
Sure.
that while you're still on it? I've seen some of just some of the overall pictures, I think they're just diagrams that were done, of some of the cities that went on. But you know, they mentioned some carports and it seems like there are going to be some other freestanding solar, charging ports and things like that that are done throughout the city. Plans been done on that, and is that going to be, kind of also by that P&L, or will that be done through independent contractors, utilized throughout the city?
It's a great question, and I get that a lot. And here is a little bit of a diagram of the first town.
Correct, that was actually the, look at.
Yeah. So, and there's a couple projects I can't share just yet. They're in partnership with Florida Power and Light. We're looking at ways to improve the infrastructure of downtown through trying to eliminate as many air handling units that you might imagine. So chilled water systems and other opportunities exist. You know, the thing that's interesting about Babcock, and imagine this goes on for 20, 30, 40 years, is the opportunity to have this living laboratory to test out distributed generation. And so Florida Power and Light, in many cases, will always get sort of first crack at that, but it's not to preclude other opportunities that can come about. So we are open to that, and we are looking for ways to do neighborhood level generation, whether it's even for a park and the lighting of a park could be handled self-contained.
You know, it's great for, I'm the CEO of Advanced Solar. We've been doing solar for 30 years in South Florida. And it's good for our industry in general. It's good because the more people understand that this is actually, it does work. That's the best thing. Most people are skeptical about it. Now they see this and they go, wow, it does work. It's actually going to work. And it does open their mind to say, gosh, you do it at home, what can I do with my home? But, you know, my biggest concern is that you take a company like FPNL,
Sure.
it does that edge out companies like my company. It doesn't also open up the door for larger companies like Solar City, multi-million-dollar solar companies to come in to things like this. So that, you know, my concern is actually on the future of my community.
Yeah, and your community, and I would just take it further, there's going to be other renewable energy opportunities that are going to come about. And you hear Sid talk in public, it's important for him that this is open for many. This is the idea that it's accessible for many business opportunities. How do we become sort of the hub of renewable energy in the country? How do we get R&D facilities to come here and be testing things out? Same thing's true for autonomous vehicles.
Right.
You hear a lot about Google. You're hearing a lot of major stories about, you know, GM making huge investments in the next Uber generation of autonomous cars. So we're not looking for just the one silver bullet. We're looking to become a platform that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've partnered with FGCU, and we've partnered with Everglades University. We're working with them to, you know, and we'd like to figure out how we crack the big nut on this to get our integrated partnerships that we've been building for decades into something that's exciting.
We'll have time for more questions at the end, because a lot of the questions that asked, John, I think will answer a lot of the things that you have. The one thing with the solar facility, John, if you could touch on how it's going to power the town and how the town will be powered with this partnership.
So most people obviously know where we are, but just as a reminder, because not everybody does. And one of the things I spend a lot of time on the marketing side is just reminding people, we're not that far out. In fact, there's two distinctive ways to get to us. There's State Road 80, you come up here. We actually own 50 acres right on the Cochattachee River as well. And then, as Dr. Hillman was saying, at the very top of our property there in orange, so let me do a little eye exam. We'll zoom in here for a second. substation in that pink space. We're actually doing two things in there. We're doing our water treatment facility, and we're doing our FPL substation is in there. So just as the river, would flow, the energy is flowing substation straight to what our needs are, and then whatever our needs aren't, we're not taking up all that capacity, goes back out to the grid. So what happens is by day, substation into downtown Babcock and all the residents of Babcock, and at night, clean natural gas is powering that. So we're part of the grid. I think that's important. But we were pleasantly surprised to know that the power would come directly to us because of the substation. So we've been working on that with FPL to just verify that the power source truly does come directly to us, and what we don't use goes out to the grid.
Let's talk about a little bit between, Dr. Hammond shared that this year the state owned the land is going to be turned over to the state of Florida to manage. Can you share about how the private and the state lands will interact and connect to each other?
Yeah, I'll come back to my little regional map here, is kind of the best way of looking at that. And I'll soon be adding the Babcock Web Preserve, because what I think about is this idea of coming up through here on Palm Beach Boulevard and 31, this corridor of preservation land that, when you think about it, our town area is the size of Manhattan, it's 30 square miles. Then you add the state preserve land, that's another 110 square miles. That's a big body of land and space. So what we've looked at is within our 18,000 acres, we'll have 50 plus miles of trail systems that people can come and enjoy. This is all open to the public at large. And then the state preserve land, Florida Fish and Wildlife Service will be operating that active branch. And so you have almost two active branches running. We run a mining operation. We're going to have a cattle operation. We have a sod farm. We have a honeybee farm. I have 500 acres of watermelons, which is kind of neat. We have tenant farmers that are coming for different needs. And then we're setting aside about 10 acres just for community farming at a community level. And then within your neighborhood, there's going to be micro gardens. In fact, we're looking at these bathtub gardens that people can have. So you might grow the best heirloom tomatoes, and you've got the best arugula, and I'm in the basement, And so anyway, that's important, just 18,000 acres. And then we've got this wilderness of the state land that will operate as we did now, the Babcock Wilderness Tour. How many of you have been on the Babcock Wilderness Tour? How many of you haven't? Shame on you. Oh, shame on you. You're missing this incredible opportunity. So I would encourage all of you to go out there and do it. It's really a treat, and it takes you back in time. And the tour guys there have all been doing it for a long time, and it's really worth doing. It's the best kind of 2 hours to kind of go decompress. So that runs throughout the year. About 30,000 people actually go to that tour. So the state, we can be running it or bidding it out. And then, I was at a public hearing. I recognize Jim in the back there was at a public hearing for this too. There's a lot of interest in the preserve land for horseback riding, for access. I mean, this is state land. So raise your hand if you're not seeing access to it, just like we will. It's there for our use and enjoyment. It's there to protect a lot of things and honor what's there. So the way I look at it, Babcock Ranch would be a gateway into those areas. We have easements because we've been doing mitigation work on state land and our land, so those easements will remain in perpetuity so that we can keep it up. One of the things I love to show people, I'll show this to you real quick. Talk about water a little while ago, and we have a weir system that, this isn't quite it, but what it basically did, a weir small dam system, was able to slow down the water flow in this, right off of Hercules Grade, which is one of our major roads. And I love to take people to that weir so you can see this natural habitat that's been restored to slow down the waterway systems that are there. So there should be some great, education opportunities that can come about, and partnering with FGCU, partnering with Dr. Hammond, and different programs that we can set up. We're going to do it on our land, and I really am hopeful that the state preserve land will also create those opportunities. And I think there's every intention to do that.
One of the cornerstones of sustainability is technology innovation. Can you share a little bit on what Babcock Ranch residents can expect in terms of innovation and new technologies as they move?
Sure. So I want to take a pause for 3 seconds. got to start with the right infrastructure. So having a Gigafy fiber-based backbone was really important. Having Tico Gas come in and put in a natural gas system was really important to us. Having solar power. So we've got all this infrastructure that can support not just great technology, but innovation as a whole. So that, you know, one of the things I get excited about as a developer is when can I stop designing condo buildings and doing 2.2538 parking spaces per family? Like, it's just ludicrous that we plan parking first and then we design buildings. And then suddenly, yeah, you might have your favorite car you like to drive, but suddenly you just pull out your phone and you Uber up your autonomous car that takes you to the airport because you can. You don't have to worry about parking fees, you don't have to worry about being late. So this is the future, whether we like it or not, it's coming. And so we want to be at the forefront of innovation. So we talk about technology, and for me, it's all about innovation in many aspects of our life, not just having super fast internet. But what does that mean? Because we're not sustainable unless we bring businesses and companies that want to take advantage of this. So maybe call centers come to Babcock Ranch because we've got this great backbone, and there's this higher quality of life. So employers and any CEOs in the room, imagine if your quality of life was there. Most people don't live where they work, but they would work where they live if they could. Make sense? So by creating this backbone, by having this technology, it creates the opportunity for entrepreneurs. It creates the opportunity to live and grow up in one place.
A lot of people have been asking me recently, well, how many people will live in Babcock Ranch? Can you talk about how many people will live there and the infrastructure things that will occur to support these new residents?
So that's a great question, and in some ways we won't know exactly, but what we do know is we're planning for 19,500 front doors. We have over 7 million square feet of commercial retail space. So if you think about that, you know, some folks would say we're going to get a little over 50,000 people will live here over the next 30, 40 years. And it's our intention to create housing opportunities that will go, today they go from the 200s to the 700s, but I hope we push that lower limit. I hope that we find ways to create, you know, workforce housing in places that people, the working class of all levels can be here, you know, and so that's important to create that. There's going to be rental opportunities for people to live here. If it's civic, if it's a real town, it needs to have the greatest opportunity for people to come.
What will the neighborhoods feel like? You know, one of the questions I continue to be asked is this going to be like Cape Coral or Lehigh where it's a grid system? You know, what kind of resident expect that their new neighborhood will feel like?
So, and this is really important to me. One of the things that I love to do, and many of you probably done this too in the state, is just drive up 17 for a while. Go through Wauchula, go through some of these wonderful small towns that you see along the way. Just pull off every once in a while. You hit Main Street, just pull off. You're going to see these wonderful cracker or vernacular homes. To me, that was why homes were built. They were up off the ground. I'm a big fan of like the dog trot form. And if you don't know what a dog trot is, it was a home that had a hole in the middle of it, and then it had a place where you slept on one side, and you cooked and did all your utilitarian things on the other side. And guess what the hole was for? Airflow. It's just for breeze. Just like getting the home off the ground was for breeze. Just like the overhang porches was to protect the home from shade. So I go through this because some of the greatest ideas are right here in our backyard. And it's important that as part of the sustainability, as part of this honoring traditions, the other thing Steve Mazan talks about is living traditions. Well, there's a living tradition right in our backyard. So we love this home. It's actually in the Panhandle, full disclosure. It was a modular home, believe it or not. And we also believe in alternative ways of building. And so finding ways to be more efficient about how you build. So when you think about the Babcock home, you think about porches. And I drive my team nuts because I'm the big porch snob. It needs to be 8 feet in width, minimum. And I'd love to see it have 1 or 2 steps, because sometimes like a porch that's 2 inches off the ground isn't really a porch. Maybe for some, but not for me. So the idea of having a proper front porch. So we talked about the Babcock home in a way to really honor these great traditions in this area, in this vernacular. We call it Babcock House. We're not crazy about it, but you're not going to see Mediterranean anything. We want to see something that's honest, that's from this area. So we look at those great farmhouse and cracker varieties, coastal varieties. The only homes that you can imagine, if you look at some of these, like this one here, you know, maybe when it was the first couple moved in, and then when the first child came along there, and then when the parents moved in, came back, they lived there, and so there's this like sort of evolved architecture that might have happened. I guess in today's world when kids move back in, right?
You know, the center of most towns in rural America, and part of it is the downtown. What can new residents expect that downtown's going to feel like as they're walking out these new neighborhoods and wanting to have coffee with friends and neighbors?
Well, thank you. The first and most important thing is that downtown is highly accessible from neighborhoods. It's walkable. It's a walkable in a 3-minute walk or a 7-minute walk. And as we like to say, sometimes take the long way home. Always take the fast way home. So if you were to have lived over here in any of these sections, you basically have a wonderful walking path system that gets you to the heart of downtown. And what's interesting and what Kitson and Partners is doing right now is we're building the first block of downtown. So first block of many, of which I'll show you. We'll talk about this for a second. We've got Place to Eat, Lakeside Restaurant. Sort of a Doc Ford's meets a harvest table. And so you've got farm to table with, you know, maybe a price point that's closer to like a Doc Ford's. And by the way, they're not coming, I'm just using it as an example. And then here we've got a market cafe. And in this market cafe, it's like the general store met a Starbucks, met a Love Boat ice cream, and they had a kid, we call it the hatchery. And so the hatchery is an inclination that will be coming available to everybody here within the next year. And then above it is, if any of you have been to Tampa, there's a place called the Oxford Exchange. And it's this wonderful collaborative workspace. So up above will be an opportunity for consultants, people maybe that are older in life and still sit on a board that they want to have a place to go to for a meeting or a place to work. So place to eat, place to buy your home, or all be out of. It's also a place where you're going to get your bike or your kayak to go out into the wilderness. So we have an outfitter store that's part of that early experience. So as you drive into Main Street for the first time, the very first thing you're going to see on your left is the outfitter store. Then what's also important for any kind of civic downtown is gathering spaces. You know, even when you go down to Punta Gorda, you know, civic parks are a big part of what we're about. So this is where we do food truck Fridays and movie nights, concerts in the park, right here on the civic green. And then, so that's the first 3. K through 8 charter school is being built in these days. And then, as I affectionately call it, a YMCA steroids, a place to go get a great workout, a place to rejuvenate that body, and have a place to go get a workout. So that's from that version of the world, and then let me just give you a little view quarter into this. A pretty wonderful downtown environment, right on the water's edge. So all those buildings that I just described, there's that Lakeside Restaurant. I'll be in that 2-story building. There's our market cafe. K through 8 charter school. I want to be a kid again. And then the wellness building.
So last week was the groundbreaking ceremony, and a lot of people have been asking me, when can new residents come in? When are people going to be living in Babcock Ranch?
So, great question. We started in November of last year, and started putting all the dirt, all the infrastructure in the ground. And so we've been working hard to be ready for this moment. We're going to start building homes. We're almost May. In June, downtown's going to start going vertical. We're ready for county permits right now for downtown. And then for the single-family homes, we're planning to build 16 models starting in July and August. And so we have today a group of 5 builders that are in here. Some you recognize with stock development is going to be there. fair amount of local builders that, what I love is their name's on the sign and you actually deal with that person. So if you bought a Fox Custom Homes, you deal with Ken Fox, which is kind of nice. So we're kind of starting small and then we're growing that team and it's just going to scale up. So maybe initially we do 100, 200 or 300 homes a year. And then for us to get to be, if you get above 600 units, 700 units a year, you become sort of the top 10 in the country. And so probably some larger enterprises will come in and be part of that. So we're open for business, I guess is the bottom line. We tour people today who have that kind of pioneering spirit, like to get a little dirt on the shoes, actually want to go out and ride in the truck and see what we're up to. They don't need to pave roads and models. So it's fun to have those early adopters in the equation.
So if people were to drive out there right now, they would just see site work being done and they wanted to get more information, they would go to the office there, I would presume? Or
Yes.
On Palm Beach Boulevard?
So we have an office on Palm Beach Boulevard, right there on State Road 80, and we're open 5 days a week for people that come in. And it's perfectly fine for people to just come in and ask questions. You know, maybe your curiosity is more about the trail system, or I had a gentleman yesterday that came in and wanted to just talk about an art gallery. So we're even starting to think differently about our downtown blocks because there should be an art district. There should be your favorite bakery shop. Maybe somebody from New York moves down and ran a bakery there, is tired of that life and wants to come down here and live above their store. Those opportunities are going to exist. They're easy for us to figure out. So just get your bearing here. This is State Road 31. State Road 31. And basically you're going to be coming in, the main entrance is going to come in about here. We had to de-water the lake for a little bit because when you mine, you don't think about edges for homes, so we actually had to go through that process. This lake's all filled up. And you're basically going to see water, you're going to come through this tree stand, and then basically right over here is where downtown is. So that kind of quarter mile, I like to call it that decompression chamber, you start getting in, and what you're going to do when you come in is you're going to see a series of homes, some homes here, but this is a big linear park that's part of that. In fact, sorry not to digress, but it's a big part of the experience of the first neighborhood that when you look at it, there's a fair amount of green spaces. That's that big linear park. The head trail system that's going to lead you out to miles and miles of trails. If I live here, my head trail's right across the street. We do that in every single neighborhood we're ever going to program. There will be a head trail in every neighborhood. And if you hear Sid talk about it, it's a big part of our DNA. So getting you interconnected to nature through this trail system is really important. So that's where the bathtub gardens are going to be, and these are just little pocket parks that for people to enjoy. So,
Let's talk about drive times. I grew up in rural Iowa, and my mother and father commuted 30 minutes to work every day. And growing up in rural Iowa, I have an appreciation for it. A lot of the times I get asked questions, how far is it out there? How far is it from RSW or downtown Fort Myers or downtown Fort to get to the town?
So there is a perception, that Babcock is kind of out there, and the reality is it's really not. I always ask people who live important that you take pride in that you have a sense of your connection to your town or your community. If you celebrate that in your life in some way, or you're looking for that in your life, you know, when somebody asks about Babcock, hopefully we've imparted some knowledge here that you can share that, you know, they're trying to do something good. They're actually trying to do something that is not only good for the environment, but we hope it's good for society. We hope it's good for people to come back and be connected again.
Thank you, John. We appreciate it. We're going to open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
Good question.
Sure.
Any plans to use gray water for irrigation or such as that? First question. Second question, like you mentioned, there was going down at the intersection of 80 and 31, there was probably down there. But are y'all planning to have grocery stores or that sort of amenity actually in Babcock?
We do. Even when you get to a couple thousand households, you can actually get to the point to sustain a neighborhood convenience area. So we talk a lot about almost like town and country metaphors. So we're building today that town element, and it's going to be up here on the lake, and it's going to have shopping and restaurants. But what happens is as you make your way a little bit south through there, we'll get into the need for that neighborhood convenience store. And there's actually a couple different entrances that will make it easier for people to get in and out to do that. On your gray water question, 100%, all of the irrigation for your homes is based off of gray water. We actually, and you heard Dr. Hillman talk about it, 90% of the communal parks will be done with native vegetation, and at least 75% of your individual home site has to be done in native vegetation.
Len?
If someone purchases an average-sized house there, they're still be buying their electric from for power run. So what do they expect their average utility bill to be compared to what they would be paying now?
Okay, so there's two parts to that. Your energy costs are the same. So it doesn't change. It doesn't change just because it comes from the sun. What does change, though, is how and why we're building. So we're following the Florida Green Building Coalition's standards of homes. So the energy efficiency by us building out of SIPs, for example. So we're going to have some of our builders are going to use block construction, and we're actually using SIPs, structural insulated panel construction, for part of it. What's amazing about that is if your outside air temperature change, say 20 degrees, your inside air temperature might change 1 or 2 degrees. So homes are running much more efficiently. If you're using 1.5 tons per 1,000 square feet, now we can use 1 million, for your HVAC. So basically, we're lowering the requirement of what your mechanical systems have to be. I'm not giving you a great answer that there's some great discount on your utility bill, but I can tell you that we're very focused on trying to lower your footprint and your overall consumption.
Is there any of the houses built with ICS blocks?
I love it. I really love it. So that's the thing. As long as you can meet the architectural guidelines, you can do that. ICS, when I lived in Cayman Islands, a big chunk of us built that. We would highly encourage that. Yes, sir.
You mentioned briefly about having the Bay River above it. Are you planning to have mixed use, residential, commercial?
Yes.
At different parts in downtown or either the town center?
Absolutely. In fact, I can show it to you now, but we've even done some animations to show exactly how that lives. But, we go 3 or 4 stories pretty comfortably, so you can get retail at the ground level, and then you can do offices or apartments above. Yes, sir.
I'm old enough to remember Walt Disney coming on television on Sunday night and talking about how he was going to build the experimental prototype community of Vermont, which actually sounds kind of like this is the city down in Florida, and then Walt had one too many cigarettes and was dead shortly thereafter. And you've given a really great presentation, but thinking 30 years down the road, when some of these ideas prove to be a little bit expensive and there is no longer you and Sid Kitson and the visionaries involved in this, what keeps it going and what keeps it from becoming cheap?
That's a $1 million question. We let this guy do it.
and wants to have a storefront on street level and a bottom shop. Because a lot of people live in New York because of the diversity and it's being an interesting place to live. So I just wonder if you have any goals for diversity or social inclusion that go along with this idea of community.
Yeah, no, in many ways, I mean, Babcock is this great sort of human experience. And I think some of the things I've already talked about are fairly universal about connection. You know, that people are missing in their lives. I don't care what race or religion or nationality you come from. I think some of that's really universal. So the tangible points that people look at when you think about inclusion is, well, first of all, it's public. So anybody can come. No gates. Anybody can come, have an ice cream, you know, and enjoy this experience in this environment. The second one that's really tangible is the housing. How's housing going to work? So today we have this sort of mid to upper 200s to $700,000 range that represents a good set of the world, but not the craziest set of the world or the broadest set. So it's up to us to adopt tiny homes. It's up to us to adopt rental programs that can be there. There are things that will compel us to be candid. So there's things in our program that require workforce housing. You know, a percentage of the 20,000 have to be at an affordable level. So I even look at this, not to get off on too crazy tangent, but also if you exercise your body, if you stimulate your mind through education, and if there's a way to rejuvenate your spirit. Some people that comes through by being in nature. Some people that comes through by sitting in a pew in a church or synagogue. We'd love to see the broadest range of those opportunities for faith-based folks, however you celebrate it. So we're not putting any restrictions on ourselves, but we are looking for ways to try to broaden that horizon.
Okay, we got time for a couple more questions.
Kind of a follow-up to the question about creating diversity, allowing diversity to evolve in the community. Will there be a preference for locally owned businesses that go in as opposed to allowing national chains and franchises to move in as the service providers, as the restaurants? Like there's been success in the city of Asheville where they said no more.
Yeah.
They've done extremely well with that. It's created a great vibe.
I love it. Now they want to say about the same thing. Lakewood Ranch also did that up in Sarasota to a degree. They got their first McDonald's after like 20 years, but it's barely into the property. I like McDonald's like the next person. But there's something really unique that happens when you know the purveyor and it's through passion. So the answer is yes. The answer is we would totally love to see more local
Local preference be given to local businesses as opposed to opening doors to national chains and franchises.
Well, right now, the first people who are going to figure it out are going to be the locals, and that's who we're talking to today. Preference, and I'm talking in a public forum, you know, it's hard to like forever and a day, but we would encourage it. We would absolutely encourage it. If I have it my way, it would always be a private label store.
And I can speak to that, being we're really the first locally owned business in Babcock Ranch. And so, you know, John and the team was looking for a partner. You know, that speaks to that. We're one of the only locally owned media companies in this South. So, way back. Yes.
John, being a 30-year river rat on the Caloosahatchee, what are you going to do with that 50 acres?
That's what Mr. Mann might let us do. So we've got to get it titled. So today it's low density farmland, quite frankly. We would love to have in the perfect world public dock system. We'd love to have access to the river for the local community. I'd love to see a little restaurant there. I think it'd be wonderful to have something along the Caloosahatchee you could go and dine in and enjoy.
Are there thoughts to have housing there?
Sorry?
Is there thoughts to have housing there?
It's tricky because it's a fairly small parcel, and you have the Lee Civic Center next door. It is out there now publicly that we're in dialogue with Lee County on the Perfect Game sports park, and I think that's a natural extension of that sports park. I'd love to redevelop the Civic Center. You know,
Okay, we'll take two more questions. Yes, sir.
I'm here from Colorado. I'm thinking of moving to Babcock next year. The only thing that makes me nervous moving here is hurricanes. What is the city's storm readiness and preparedness plan?
Yeah, great question. And I mentioned it in our, it's one of those key initiatives that we always pay attention to. So the first and most important thing is elevation. we're at an elevation that if you had a mortgage on your home, you're going to be required to have flood insurance. It's in the Hillman district, for any of you that understand that. So we're high. Being high often means you're dry, you've got business and major catastrophic storm. The other thing is our durability standards when it comes to building. So as long as you're building with impact glass or storm protection, you're pretty covered. The good thing is in this market, you're in the wind zone. Every builder in this market has that ability. The other one that we've handled is in general.
One more question.
I assume eventually Babcock Ranch will become city. At what point does the development company bow out and the residents take over and elect a mayor and a city council and anything that they want to do?
I get this question a lot. So we are set up as an independent special district. We have the ability to become our own municipality to do a wonderful thing. We're proud of our partnership and being part of the Florida right now. But we're in multiple counties and it gets complicated. So it'd be great to be a standalone enterprise. So, you know, it's just a matter of time and letting it build up. You know, one thing I do know, I get asked this question a lot. The entire place is part of a master association that Kitson will manage almost in perpetuity. So we have set up a board. We're the primary members of the board. Every once in a while, as we get to a certain head count, owners in the community can be part of that. But what we're not going to see is ITs from some of those Seinfeld episode is the person who's got way too much free time and wants to become the president of the Chief of Seven. And God bless them, but we just don't need that kind of help. We're pretty good at what we do. So we're going to manage a big chunk of that POA for as long as we can. Now, our business model is we sell land and we hire builders. Builders come and partner with us. 19.5 is a long way to go. So, you know, as good as I hope that they come out at sales and marketing, I still think it's going to take 20, 30 years.
Well, John, thank you very much.
Well, I would not do that.